Africa is a continent more varied than any other on the planet. Ethnically, geographically, biologically, it is a complex colossus of incredible diversity and vastly differing textures. Rivers which have flowed for millions of years make their way through bush valleys, creating life for a multitude of creatures. This thick riverine bush is the home of a wide variety of leaf-eaters, known as browsers, animals such as the kudu, inyala, and, appropriately enough, the bushbuck. It is also the home of a host of beautiful birds, further feathered evidence of Africa's teeming abundance of life forms. And it is in the dense thickets along these rivers, stained scarlet by the setting sun, that one finds what many regard as Africa's most beautiful and at the same time most professional predator, the leopard. In repose, the leopard may seem languid, lazy, almost laid back. But this is a dangerous illusion, for the leopards are arguably amongst the most complete killing machines devised by nature. Perhaps because they walk alone, they may seem to have a certain aristocratic aloofness. This is why the leopard is called the prince of predators. The Prince of Predators is in fact a splendid example of nature's evolutionary expertise. The same evolution which has molded the systems which retain Africa's magnificent diversity. Heralded by the thunder, triggered by the lightning, endlessly repeated over millions of years, fires have raged through the thick bush. Fire, traditionally the great destroyer, here plays a positive role, keeping the dense vegetation in check. The grass grows back quicker than the trees and shrubs, ensuring the continuance of the productive open grasslands, which are home to the herd animals and grazers, such as the buffalo, zebra, wildebeest, and impala. Elephants also play a role in clearing the bush, since large established growth, such as trees, forms a substantial portion of their food supply. Although elephants are second only to man in their capacity to effect habitat change, they are not destructive in the true sense, since their bulldozing opens up the bush for smaller animals. Everything is interrelated. Giraffes, the world's tallest animals, feed at the edge of the woodlands at a level which is exclusively their own. The point is simply that these animals don't compete. Other animals will eat at lower levels because each has evolved to be selective in its choice of food. Like a living jigsaw puzzle, all the pieces fit together to make a wonderfully practical and complete ecosystem. For the ecosystem to function efficiently, however, everything has to be in balance, in numbers, in species. Each living component is a part of nature's system. The white rhino is an example of this. Once on the brink of extinction, it has now bred to the point where it is no longer regarded as an endangered species. It's an interesting fact that rhino mate for a longer period than any other animal. It is with these wild animals that the leopard shares its habitat. His fellow predators, the cheetahs, who are specifically adapted to running down their prey, are naturally attracted to the open grasslands, since it is here that they are able to utilize their hunting skills most effectively. It can be argued that lions are at the top of the predator hierarchy, especially when they have adapted to hunting in both grassland and woodland. This is reinforced by their habit of forming prides, social structures, which enhance their efficiency as predators, and by their superior strength. Certainly, the social nature of the lions is vividly in contrast to the leopard, which is emphatically a loner. This female leopard has 2 cubs, one female and one male, characteristically concealed from curious eyes in a den. Because she is basically a single parent, the leopard mother has adapted to having smaller litters of cubs, 2, sometimes 3. The cubs remain hidden in the den while she hunts. On returning to the den, she will call softly to warn the cubs of her approach. Since she is a solitary hunter, and the cubs are therefore vulnerable while she is away, she will move them every few days to reduce the risk of the den being found by predators, such as lion or hyena. For hunting in tall grass and heavy bush, leopards prefer to use logs, trees, or termite mounds to give them a vantage point from which to size up their prey and plan their strategy. The whole business of hunting is made more difficult by the strident alarm calls of birds and monkeys. Predators expend a lot of energy hunting. The task is difficult and demanding. And of course, they don't always succeed. But now, a suitable prey presents itself to those professional hunters' eyes, a young warthog. Yet, even in counterpoint to the serious business of survival, it is possible to glimpse nature's flawless ecological planning. Here, a terrapin grooms a warthog of ticks and fleas as the animal wallows in the waterhole. symbiosis, interdependence, the cycle of life in all its light and shade. Warthogs normally make their homes in the holes in termite mounds. The leopard now investigates the hole with unhurried care. Realizing that the warthogs will return to their holes at dusk, she waits, ready to unleash her deadly hunting pattern of camouflage and ambush. Since she hunts alone, she cannot jeopardize her effectiveness by confrontation with an animal which may inflict damage. Instead, she will be calculating, selective, targeting in on a young hog, not equipped with lethal tusks like these. Camouflage and stealth will bring her close to her prey before exploding across the last few meters. The leopard kills by going for the throat and throttling its prey, killing as quickly and silently as possible, though this is admittedly not easy with a warthog. There is a reason for this, because the commotion often attracts other predators, and so the leopard is tense and alert even after the kill. Predator literally means taker, and this is what the leopard does. She takes. A lot of predator activity takes place at night, making filming extremely difficult. Yet, astonishingly, none of the animals were disturbed by the lights used by the film crew to capture this extraordinary African saga. The leopard's ability to hoist their kills is a significant indicator of their success as predators, a measure of their flexibility and adaptability. The motivation is once again that businesslike approach, since this ability to climb means that wasteful confrontation with other predators can be avoided. An instinctive, practical response. Without the ability to climb, the hyena finds only disappointment. High in the tree is the sleek silhouette of the leopard, while below on the ground, all the hyena can hope for are scraps. What has to be done gets done, and the leopard is splendidly evolved to do the job. Leopards, in fact, are capable of hoisting in excess of their own weight. For the leopard, the business of the kill is over. The prey is secure, and she can feed at leisure. Mankind, to a large extent, probably associates sunset with a winding down of effort. But this is not the case in the wild, where all sorts of activity really begins with nightfall. The pangolin, or scaly anteater, has been pungently described as a perambulating artichoke. Certainly in its ponderous plodding walk and overlapping scaled armor, it tends to look like something out of Star Wars. Like the leopard, the pangolin is a solitary creature and nocturnal. But this armored oddity is also a star performer when it comes to quantity of food intake. Its extraordinary tongue, which is longer than its head and body combined, enables it to eat up to 200,000 ants per night. One of its natural enemies is the lion, and so naturally enough, it is lions that turn up to spoil the pangolin's prehistoric promenade. But the lions, this time, are just cubs, inexperienced, curious about this odd creature they've caught. For the pangolin has an ingenious defense mechanism which comes instinctively into action when it is threatened. It rolls into a ball. Its name is in fact a corruption of the Malay words Heng Goling, meaning the roller. the young lions, their new toy is just like an armor-plated football and lots of potential fun or food. The adult lions who know better simply ignore the whole business and in due course move off. Once the lions have lost interest and left, the patience of the pangolin is rewarded. It can plod away in search of a well-stocked ant-heap. But not all the dramas of the African night will unfold in such a satisfying way. In contrast to the leopard, which conceals her cubs in a den and can climb trees, the cheetah is vulnerable to larger, stronger predators. This female cheetah and her 5 cubs is a typical example. Out of the night, the lion's roar triggers her reaction. The cheetah is concerned. She knows that she cannot defend her cubs against an attack by lions. The little ones are oblivious of the potential danger. Suddenly, the wind changes, and the lions pick up the scent of the cheetahs. What follows is swift and outwardly horrifying. The lions move in on the cheetahs. Only one cub has the instinct to follow its mother. The others try to hide. But the lions find them and kill all 4, one by one. But importantly, the lions do not eat the cheetah cubs. They are simply driven by the territorial imperative, which consists of eliminating the competition, even the potential competition, from their territory. It may seem horrific, even pointless, but human standards do not apply here, and the business of survival leaves no room for sentimentality. But the next morning, there is a poignant postscript. The cheetah mother calls for her dead cubs, instinctively seeking to reunite her family. The little one also calls out plaintively for its dead brothers and sisters in an insistent miniature counterpoint to the mother. For hours, the mother will continue her futile searching and calling, unable to make the connection that her cubs are gone forever and will never come back. Eventually, resigned to their fate, she takes the surviving cub in her mouth and moves off into the ever uncertain future. All this may seem grim, but it is simply the inevitable process of natural selection at work. Inter-predator relationships work at many levels, but competition is the major determining factor.
These major predators have evolved side by side over millions of years. They compete for space and they compete for prey. And consequently, they're aggressive towards each other. We've seen lions kill leopard cubs. We've seen lions kill cheetah cubs. And they're interacting all the time. And this is why you get this aggression amongst these major predators.
Here, a wild dog killed by lions was instinctively hoisted by a leopard into a tree, and yet not eaten. As opposed to leopard cubs, which are instinctive and self-taught, cheetah cubs have to learn from their mother the techniques of hunting and killing. As we've already seen, cheetahs can reach high speeds in short bursts over open country. And here the cheetah mother is showing the cubs how it is done. She has caught but not killed a young impala, and this is an ideal opportunity to teach the cubs. But before they arrive, the impala gets away and the mother has to recatch it. Only then can the lessons get underway. Lessons that have to be taught. Without the leopard's ability to hoist, cheetahs have to feed quickly on the ground for fear of losing their kill to other predators. Their fears are justified because a female leopard has heard the noise and stalks in to investigate. It may seem incredible, but the solitary leopard easily chases 4 cheetah away from the kill, once again demonstrating the inter-predator hierarchy. The leopard carries off her trophy, leaving behind the disgruntled cheetahs. Typically, the leopard hoists her prize into a tree where she can feed at leisure. All this is simply a demonstration of the measure of the leopard's success as a hunter and as an opportunist. As the African twilight once again darkens swiftly into night, these scenes of a leopard mother and her cubs invite the chilling question: could the same future await them as befell the cheetah cubs? The dangers remain just as real, but the leopard's instincts as a survivor, even when young, are more evolved than the cheetah's, and their suppleness and agility is an advantage in trees. So the cubs scramble into the tree out of reach, while the mother snarls ominously to discourage the hyena. Characteristically, the mother avoids physical confrontation with the hyena. Always the complete professional, she wastes no unnecessary effort, takes no unnecessary risks. All that's required is to see him off. An agile little bird like the crested francolin is as good an opponent as any when the cubs begin the process of learning to stalk and pounce. After all, you have to start somewhere. And while they're only 3 months old now, these skills will be vital in later life. Already at 3 months, they are efficient and confident climbers, and a monitor lizard in an acacia tree is irresistible. Stalking and pouncing is developed during play, a dress rehearsal for later life. Their mother, even at this stage, is away hunting for increasingly longer periods, and all the while they are developing their agility and self-taught skills. At 5 months, a cub mock kills a civet, previously killed by the mother. Their curiosity is such that they will investigate any movement, even beetles. Here, the male cub has caught a hare, though it is arguable which is the more surprised, the leopard cub or the hare. At this age, too, a cub encounters a prickly problem in the form of Africa's largest rodent, a porcupine, with quills splayed out and fully on the defensive. They have to learn for themselves the lessons of life. The cub was fortunate in being able to bite the quills out of its paws before they turned septic. At 7 months, this male cub tangles with a deadly Egyptian cobra. Catching an agile monkey at this age is good going, but inexperience has led the cub to bite the back of the neck instead of the throat. So the monkey escapes to live another day and scream abuse at the leopard cub. Comparisons are inevitably drawn between leopards and cheetah. What follows is a striking demonstration of the difference between the two species: the instinctive predator, the leopard, and the taught predator, the cheetah. Here, a tortoise totters ponderously past a cheetah lying in the shade. The cheetah completely ignores it. But the leopard is an instinctive hunter and killer. If it moves, it will be investigated, with a view to a kill, as it were. It may be a different tortoise, in this case a hingeback tortoise, but the leopard's instincts never change. There are also many visible differences between leopards and cheetahs. The cheetah has a small head, singular spots, slender build, and a long, flexible spine. The leopard has rosette patterns, ideal for camouflage in dappled shade, and is more powerfully built. Tear lines to cut down glare underscore the cheetah's brown eyes. The pale, cold eyes of the leopard have better night vision. The cheetah has non-retractable claws, rather like a sprinter's running spikes. The leopard has retractable claws, which are unsheathed when climbing or killing. The cheetah has a flat rudder-like tail, which helps it turn when running at high speed. The leopard has a long tail for balancing in trees. Like all cats, both cheetahs and leopards groom themselves meticulously, since they are susceptible to infection from parasites in raw and decomposing meat. Cheetah will lie on termite mounds or similar vantage points, so as to spot prey or possible dangers. The leopard does likewise, for the same reasons. Both leopard and cheetah are territorial, using spray urination and dung to mark their territory. The cheetah makes a bird-like chirrup, the leopard a rasping, sawing sound. Both have distinctive markings on the tips of their tails. These act like beacons when they are following one another through the bush. The cheetah usually has a black-tipped tail, which becomes a blur in the open grasslands when it is running down prey at speeds of over 100 kilometers per hour over short distances. The leopard operates in heavy riverine bush, stalking and pouncing in short rushes, killing with its canines by throttling. The leopard is known as a silent, clean killer, following its pattern of professional proficiency. Normally, there are just 2 small puncture holes on either side of the throat. Contrary to popular belief, leopards do not favor baboons as prey. When there is a wide variety of choice, they would prefer to hunt small game such as impala and steenbok. Being businesslike in its approach, and also a solitary hunter, the leopard would not see the point in risking injury by confronting formidable fangs like these. After the leopard has hoisted its kill into a tree, she will use her incisors to strip the carcass of meat. Then to crush the sinew and bone, she will use these teeth, named carnassals. Usually, a leopard will feed for a while to lighten the load before hoisting the kill. She will then fetch the cubs, which do not accompany her on the hunt. As ever in the wild, there is someone waiting for titbits, or better still, a mishap. The young female leopard is eager to demonstrate her independence, but due to inexperience, she fumbles and drops the kill. In nature, there is always an opportunist waiting for just such a mistake. In nature, nothing is foolproof or invulnerable. There are also others who can climb trees. Here, an agile lion takes a leopard's kill from a tree. The hoisting and positioning of a carcass in a tree is a self-learned process, but learning the requisite dexterity doesn't come easy. This cub seems to feel as if he has too many paws. Yet nonetheless, there is no other major predator which is able to look after itself so effectively at such a young age. All the information obtained about leopards, and for that matter other predators, is not based on guesswork. Detailed and ongoing research projects have uncovered many previously unknown facts. The bedrock basis of this scientific credibility has been underscored by many hours of meticulous observations.
Our observations are that the male and the female are territorial. The male has a larger territory, normally encompassing 2 or 3 females. The females also actively defend their territories. And the cubs, once they're 12 to 13 months old, will then be physically rejected from the territory by the adults. This now is the toughest time for a young cub. They have to move out of their territory into unknown areas. If the game reserve is saturated with leopards, a young male especially may be forced out of the game reserve where they move into hunting areas and are shot. They may take to stock and be killed by farmers as well.
The young male leopard is now 13 months old and potential competition to his father. He has to move on, to become a nomad, and one day stake out his own territory. The young female leopard, having set up in territory adjacent to her mother, is totally reliant on herself. She now has to go solo, since the mother has left, and the skills learnt in her short childhood will be put to the test. Incredibly, the young female leopard now goes into a repeat performance of an attack on a warthog, just as her mother did earlier in the story. Once again, she will avoid unnecessary risks, such as the dangerous tusks of an adult warthog. Following deep, powerful instincts, she will employ the same tactics as her mother before her, without ever once having seen it done or the techniques demonstrated. For the young female leopard, this first important kill is her rite of passage and a triumphant reaffirmation of the species. She is now a successful independent, and at this point, the leopard mother is set to move into the next stage of her life cycle.
Once she's freed from the constraints of raising the cubs, she now moves actively through her territory, marking bushes and trees with urine and dung. The male can detect from this that she's coming into estrus and ready for mating. And within 3.5 months, she can reproduce another litter of cubs. And this means of the major predators in Africa, the leopard is one of the fastest reproducers.
She now will roam her territory, searching out new potential den sites, suitably secluded and inaccessible. The territory system is an efficient spacing mechanism which enables each leopard to have an area which it knows intimately and will defend actively. For this is not to say that family quarrels do not happen. Here the young female has strayed into the mother's territory and made a kill. The mother arrives and immediately presents an eviction order. The daughter shows submissive behavior. She relinquishes her kill and departs. In this case, the mother would be quite prepared to defend her territory to the full. By contrast, this young male paid the ultimate penalty in a confrontation with his father, underlining just how remorseless the territorial imperative can be. Mange is another of the problems in the wild, though for the most part wild leopards seem to recover from this condition. Man has always been fascinated by the spotted cats. In zoos, jaguars, leopards, and black leopards are among the biggest attractions for the tens of thousands of people who flock to them. There is a double irony here. For the leopard, the zoos present one of the toughest tests of its capacity to adapt: reconciliation to a life in captivity. For most human beings, zoos offer probably the only opportunity they will have of seeing a living leopard in their own lifetime. Scarcity and demand in a curious combination. There has always been a demand for leopard skins, and it is for its skin that man has hunted the leopard for thousands of years. The skins are undeniably handsome, and for some women, a leopard coat is an unrivaled symbol of affluence.
Beautiful star that is.
The whole subject of people wearing animal skins remains an emotionally charged issue.
Man has worn animal skins since the beginning of time. Tribal people have used it for royal occasions. Western ladies have worn leopard skin coats. Today we tackled this emotional issue and asked some of the ladies what their reaction was. Marie, you've seen this beautiful coat here. Would you wear this coat?
Very definitely. I come from a farming area where our stock continually gets attacked by these leopards, and we are forced to eliminate them.
So you feel the leopard has been killed anyway, why not turn it into a beautiful coat?
Absolutely.
I think it's hideous, John. I would never ever wear a coat like that. Looks far better on the leopard in the wild like I've seen him.
I like the coat, and I feel that if it's an endangered animal, then don't kill the animal for the coat. But if it's a well-populated animal and it's dead anyway, you might as well wear the coat.
I think it's a beautiful coat. But why kill an animal when we can eat it?
Would you approve of your wife wearing a leopard skin coat?
Well, John, I wonder if you could tell me how many leopards died to make that coat.
Well, in that particular coat, 8 leopards.
Oh, that's ridiculous. That's just not on. I can't accept that. I reckon that's really cruel.
The debate continues. Dr. Naidu, who provides medicine for the African people, has another perspective.
The black people, they use the leopard skin for the tribal chiefs for customary traditional use only, that the chiefs must use it and for the ancestors' call. They use this claws and they tied this claws around the neck to protect against evil spirits. At the moment, there's about 80,000 witch doctors. They use these bones. The witch doctors use these bones for throwing. This is to determine the bad spirits. The fat is used to apply as a love potion. Well, this is very interesting. This dung is used in fact, to chase away somebody that if they have a fight among each other. I agree with the authorities that we must protect the animals. But the blacks, this is the traditional custom. And if they need that particular skin, if we have to stop that entirely, well, they will force to go and poach.
Undoubtedly, poaching of wild animals is a pertinent aspect of the response to continuing economic and population pressures. To people in Africa clinging precariously to the narrow divide between hunger and starvation, wild animals are simply a source of food and revenue. Already, the leopard, along with all wildlife on the continent, competes with man for space. Africa's human population is expected to double to about 1 billion in the next 20 years. Which means that the competition for space and food will escalate accordingly and alarmingly. The fate of those creatures who have competed with man for the Earth's resources is not exactly such as to inspire optimism for the future. It all depends critically on how the conservationists see their role.
Our job as conservationists is to prove that wildlife is economically viable. We're competing for land. We're competing with rising populations. And the leopard is no exception. A leopard can be photographed time and time again. It can be hunted by trophy hunters. The skins can be used. And once an animal has economic viability, then man has an incentive to protect it.
Modern-day conservationists suggest that wildlife, and by extension game reserves, have to be made to pay to be viable, with wildlife multi-use schemes involving the neighboring population. Photographic safaris, particularly those focused on beautiful animals such as the leopard, can undoubtedly bring in substantial revenue. So too do limited hunting safaris under controlled conditions. At a more fundamental level, the harvesting of surplus indigenous species can provide a food source to an increasingly protein-hungry continent, and is immensely practical. In an ongoing interchange of resources and expertise, wild animals can earn revenues for game parks and at the same time benefit the tribal people who live adjacent to the parks. Only when wildlife schemes can compete with other forms of land use will animals like the leopard survive. Without this, and with the alternative destruction of habitat for agriculture, even the leopard, adaptable as he is, will not survive.
Without any question, the leopard is the most adaptable of all the big predators. When lions and hyena and cheetah have long left the area, the leopard survives. Just outside Johannesburg, you still find leopards. 15 kilometers from Nairobi, leopard populations still survive. It has the ability to, even if the major prey is removed, to survive killing smaller prey. One of the finest examples of adaptation was a leopard that was trapped on an island in the Kariba Lake, in Rhodesia, now called Zimbabwe. And all the major prey was removed from this island, and this leopard survived. They sent a scientist across, and he discovered that this leopard had actually adapted itself to fishing. And that, to me, is one of the finest examples of animal adaptation that one can think of.
In the end, it is a question of balance, of adaptation. Man is the ultimate predator. Yet the great question was foreseen, foreshadowed, more than a century ago in 1855, when the American Indian chief Seattle wrote a letter to the President of the United States in words of unerring truth and poignancy. How can you own the warmth of the land, the sparkle of the water, the animals and the prairie? They belong to everyone. The white man comes and takes what he needs, and he moves on. Nature is his enemy, not his friend. For when all the animals are gone, man will die of a great loneliness of spirit. For what happens to the animals happens to man. All things are connected.
Thank you.